everybody, and welcome to the Nerd Variety Podcast. Today's episode, we are talking about sound design, my favorite topic personally, because I've studied it a lot, and I've always been very curious. I was always curious before I started studying it about just the source of sounds in movies, games, TV shows, anything, and actually just in the world. It's always been very interesting to me. How things create sound, how they travel, and just all the science about it, actually. So today we're getting to that topic, and I assume that I actually have studied the most about this topic than anyone else. Second, maybe Hannah.
I mean, I probably know more about like actual sound, like from a physics standpoint.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I took several courses throughout college about sound specifically in terms of physics, everything. So I don't know. It's possible though. But yeah, and Josh is here as well.
Hey, what's up?
Speaking of which, that's introductions. Hey, Hannah.
Hi.
Yes, Hannah is here. She is lovely and a physics lady, and the only one of us who is married. A lot of information.
There's celebrating my 5-year anniversary in 2 days.
Awesome.
Wow, it's been 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Which is a long time for a 25-year-old.
It's been 5 years.
I'm just thinking of all the, because I was at your wedding and I remember it. And it's funny to think it's been 5 years.
Wedding? That's fun.
Yes.
Don't even start, Hayden.
Not at the wedding. No, even though, how long have I known you for?
I don't know, like 4 years?
No, like 6 years. Maybe 7 years. I don't remember when things were.
You know.
Probably about 6 years. 6 or 7, actually.
It
Probably
should
7.
be a compliment that I guess I like you more now than I used to.
You came around the BCM in what, 2014?
Yeah.
Yes, so
it's been 6 years.
I mean, I don't know how close you
Actually,
were.
7 years. Sorry.
I don't think y'all were very close back then.
We were. Well, I thought we were closer than apparently we were.
I don't know. I don't remember.
We're still not very close, so it's all right.
I thought everyone hated me for most of my life, so.
Well, see, I've known everybody hates me for all of my life, so.
But know that if I was getting married again, I'd invite you. Maybe. If I was getting married to somebody who wasn't
I wish
Patrick,
I could say the same. I wish I could say the same to you.
If you guys do a renewal somewhere down the line, then yeah.
We might actually next year.
So. If I get married, I'm very specifically not inviting you, Patrick, or Emily and Ryan, because they also didn't invite me to their wedding. I'm pissed about that.
Fair enough.
Wow.
But we also don't really talk anymore much.
Right.
And I'm also joined. That was a long intro.
Sorry.
I'm also joined by Josh.
Hey guys. Hey girls. Hey peoples.
The only cis male in the group. That's about the only thing that I have for you, honestly.
I mean, he's the only one of us who's black.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry,
that's
Hannah.
The thing.
I don't see the world through that lens, Hannah.
I'm like.
I mean, after the 6 years, 7 for Hannah that we've known, actually 8 that we've known each other, like, yeah, I feel like you guys would have more to say about me.
Well, okay. I mean, I'm just saying, like Hannah's the only married one. You're the male. I'm just the best.
Josh is the one without long, slightly purple hair. My hair's slightly, you can't tell on camera, but my hair's slightly purple right now.
Slightly purple.
I know it does on camera. It's really infuriating, but it is purple.
Okay, sure.
It's purple.
Sure. I'll trust you.
If you look at it really,
if
you look at mine really hard and use your imagination.
This is not what we're supposed to be talking about today. This is what happens when Hayden doesn't plan anything.
If you're watching the video and you get like a purple marker, you can color in purple on his hair.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's how it works. And I'm Hayden. Yeah, I am. I'm the only trans person here. I'm the only of a lot of things, actually. I feel like. So.
I'm the only one who doesn't wear glasses.
Yeah, you are the only one who doesn't wear glasses.
And
anyways, Hannah, That's not the point.
Okay. You're the only one currently wearing a red shirt.
The only one
okay,
not drinking something from a mug.
This is true. I got it on actual glass.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, you guys are distracting us and taking up valuable time in our podcast, which I planned so well, so tightly.
Which is why we're keeping to that schedule that you planned to the minute.
Anyways, it's because sound things. So sound design. Who is interested in it?
I am.
Am I the nerdiest person here in terms of sound?
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm interested. I was recently listening to a podcast about like soundtracks and how they work in movies.
Yeah.
In games.
It's quite interesting.
So,
yes.
I don't have an education when it comes to sound design, but I have an intense appreciation and a lot of curiosity, and I just really kind of want to like go bang on furniture and be like, what does it sound like?
Yeah, actually, there was speaking of which, when I was in my music theory class in, I think I was a junior in high school. It was a whole thing where I got on this for a while. So this was more music related technically, but I especially would go around and I would knock on different surfaces and try to figure out what note it was, what frequency, or what. It
just makes me think of the song Trash in the Camp from Tarzan, where they're like banging on everything and using the typewriter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love that song.
Yeah, it's because I mean, everything does have its own frequency, its own pitch. And it's always interesting, especially if you develop an ear for that. You can start listening, and it's like it's going to be a really low sound a lot of times, or maybe even high, but it's going to be muffled because you're not usually used to thinking about. You're not necessarily used to thinking about things like that in a musical sense.
Well, I think that my family, I'm not gonna say that like we're more accustomed to thinking that way, but like being a family who is interested in music and being homeschooled, we spend a lot of time with our parents, and we spend a lot of time like taking bottles and like blowing across them to make sound, and like drinking a little bit more of whatever's in it to make a lower sound, and like fiddling with that sort of like really physical like understanding the like, oh, the height of water affects the pitch of the sound and stuff like that. We've been doing stuff like that since we were kids.
Yeah, I mean, we all have,
and things with like the glasses and
that's like also, and that then carries over to like just strings or stuff, like do you ever do the shoebox guitar thing or whatever?
We did the like grass whistling.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a fun one.
But anyways, it's I've always been so interested that everything has its own sound, and it's very unique, and that's where it comes to be a lot of fun listening and just also really creating sound, at least to me. Like doing Foley. If you're not familiar, Foley is it's the art of creating sound, basically, of recording sound, usually in a studio, but it doesn't have to be in a controlled like Foley studio. But that's usually how it's done. So yeah, it's finding things in the world and just like making sounds, and then once you take that sound, you apply it usually to a scene in a movie or something, and then you try to line it up later in the post-production process to actually, usually the whole thing's post-production. You try to match it up to the video and to the action that's occurring on screen. And I did a lot of that in high school and college, but so my favorite story about this, I don't know why, I always tell this story when I talk about sound design and my experience with it. When I was a senior in high school, I was doing I believe it was a music production class, and we ended up doing a project where we had to take a scene from a film and remove all the sound from it and replace it with, well, just make our own sound, make our own soundtrack for it. For me, that included making music as well as recording dialogue and just making every sound. And we had the scene, the flight test scene from Iron Man 1, if you remember that. And there was one very specific sound that I remember to this day. It was a sound like, because you could see on screen, there was a point where like he had the boots on because he didn't have the full armor yet. This was leading up to that. And he had the boots on, he was flying with them, and you could see like a little bit of air kind of just spurt from it. It was like a really quick thing, and I was kind of always just thinking when I was watching, I'm like, it's probably like a somewhat high-pitched sound, but kind of like a sort of thing. I was trying to figure out what that could be, and it may not have taken that long, actually, but I immediately was thinking, that sounds kind of like opening a soda bottle, like a Coke or something right there. So me and my partner for this project, we kind of broke the rules a little bit. It's kind of a guerrilla sound design, let's call it that. Obviously, it wasn't anything all that dramatic, but we're not supposed to have food or drink really around the equipment because, like electrical stuff, you probably shouldn't have liquids around it. We sit here as we all drink something around our microphones. But no, I see you, Josh. So me and my partner, we went and we got a soda, and we had to make sure it was a bottle because we didn't want to try to open a can right in front of the microphone. And we got someone that was going to be really good at doing it quickly, being able to get it close and not bump into the mic. So we shook it up some just before. We got it right next to the microphone, opened it enough to hear the sound, and then close it immediately. And we recorded it, and I thought that was like the best sound in that whole scene. And I loved it just because I felt like it was very out of the box thinking. And the whole thing I really enjoyed. I unfortunately, like so many of my projects then, I don't have today because it was a whole thing. They were on a hard drive that I ended up reformatting, and then I think it got broken, and it was just a mess. I just don't have it.
But the behind the scenes stuff is pretty fascinating. Just how they simulate rain, how they simulate punching, which I noticed that a lot of the shows, like a lot of the action shows that I watch or movies that I watch, that that sound is pretty distinctive when you hear it, and you figure that each fight, every time someone fights someone, there's going to be something. It's going to be different sounds to it. Like you're hitting someone. So this person may be wearing no shirt, a shirt, a padded vest or clothing. So it shouldn't all sound the same, but they do use an effect for it. And then just how a lot of sounds are like body sounds, like they just kind of use their natural body to like that, just to make sound for make a sound effect.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's important to note that you have to be really careful, because if a sound sounds off, like you pick up on it really, really quickly. I've been watching some playthroughs of the newest Resident Evil 8 game, which is spooky and dark and serious and gory and like all of these things. Like at some point he gets his hand cut off, right? The main character, and you're like, but there's these vases.
7. Does he get his hand cut off again?
Yep.
What is with this guy?
Poor man.
Same protagonist too.
He's
Same
worse
guy.
than I know he is. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's worse than Luke Skywalker.
Good thing he's got magic healing goop and just put his hand back on. Anyway, not the point. Point is, there's some like vases kind of lying about. And the YouTuber I was watching play kind of used a knife to cut one open, and it was a very like cartoony, almost sounding vase breaking sound, like that classic cartoon, like glass shattering kind of sound. And he's like, why? Like, it sounds so ridiculous, like in the context of this grayish, you know, giant castles with vampires and blood and gargoyles, and it's like, oh, and then cartoony vase breaking sound. Like, you pick up on it instantly. You're like, yeah, that's weird. Right? So imagine like if you watch a movie where someone, you know, slaps someone in the face and it sounds wrong, you're gonna be like, what the heck? Right? Even though I'm sure, I don't know about you guys, I don't know if I actually have ever heard anyone get slapped in the face in real life.
I've heard it when I've done it to other people.
Oh, okay. So,
and when it's been done to me. So yeah.
Okay.
But well, so you know, there's a thing called characteristic sounds. And what that is basically and usually that's contrasted with realistic sound. And so characteristic is usually a sound that it's not really legitimate necessarily. It's what people expect because it becomes associated with certain things.
Yeah.
So like as you call it, the cartoony glass shattering sound, that's usually a characteristic sound.
Right.
Yeah.
But it feels like, at least as far as I've been seeing, it feels like almost the only one in the game. It feels almost like they created all of their own sound effects for all of these unique monsters and villains and things, and then like they just use a open source vase breaking sound. Yeah. I'm just like, yeah, we'll just take that one.
I mean, you say that, but there are plenty of things that I'm sure are more subtle and you probably won't pick up on that are characteristic. Again, I only played through the demo of Resi 8, but I am interested in it. Unfortunately, I don't have money right now. But that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about my financial situation for Resident Evil 8. But
it's just one of those things where, like, it sounds somewhat off and your ear tunes into it immediately.
Yeah, there are definitely things like that. And I think, in my opinion, again, not having heard it in the game yet, I can imagine there are definite things that could be tweaked to the sound to make it sound a little better. You can always do stuff like, well, it depends, honestly. But you could probably, if it's really like dry and very in your face, it's possible that it could work to maybe turn it down, maybe add an echo or reverb depending on the size of the room that it's in. And then also just, it's really important a lot of times to consider when doing sound design, to consider what the environment is and like how close you like the subject is to it, or like a character or something, because it's gonna, especially if you're in first person, it's gonna hit their ears a lot quicker than it would hit anything else. So you may end up hearing an echo as well, because it'll hit your ears before it hits other walls, depending on a lot of other factors. And then how insulated the area is around it and everything. So if you have very echoey walls and like hardwood floors and stuff, it's probably going to echo quite a bit. But if you have soft insulated walls and like a carpet and stuff, it's going to die out pretty easily. And if there's a lot of stuff in the room, it's not going to be much of an echo. But yeah, I mean, honestly, and you're talking about like the zombies and everything being very unique sounding. That, in my opinion, is where it becomes really fun and really creative, because, you know, and looking into how people come up with these ideas, these sounds, usually when you have things like the Resident Evil zombies, they're not like other zombies, right? Like they're different. They're quite different. So you have to think this is a thing that doesn't have a sound, because you can't just make something that sounds realistic for it, because there's nothing like it in the real world. You have to create your own sound. And from that means going out, finding a bunch of things and combining them. Usually you lap them or you stack them, and it ends up, you have to find like the right combination that you feel as the sound designer best fits the description and everything about a specific creature.
Hayden, how would you make a zombie?
How would I make a zombie?
Or do sound design for a zombie?
Sound design for a zombie?
Yeah.
Well, what kind of zombie?
Let's say a run-of-the-mill, fresh, lumbering zombie, just walking toward, looking for its next meal.
Well, that seems very standard. You'd probably just have somebody do a pretty standard groan kind of sound. In terms of walking, you'd probably just have somebody kind of probably on concrete, wearing some kind of light shoe, nothing particularly athletic, probably something that'll drag, and then you'd probably drag across there, maybe include like a cloth kind of sound dragging as well against it. So you have kind of a shambling sort of noise.
Would you add any viscera sounds?
It depends. It really depends on what you're seeing from the zombie, specifically at that moment. Because it's very possible, like if they're eating something, then actually what you could do is you could just give somebody, you could either give someone a boom mic, or give them like a lavalier mic, and just like really turn up the volume on them and have them eat something or chew something, maybe kind of soggy. And
I watched a video of
maybe a bit crunchy, and that could give you a real nasty sounding.
I watched a video, or I didn't watch it. It was, I don't know, it was like in a compilation or something, and I was like, this is the worst. And it was a mukbang of a girl eating like a freaking slab of like raw salmon. It was horrific. It was horrible sounding.
Mm-mm.
I hated it so much.
I'd rather listen to it instead of just watch it.
It was unpleasant on all accounts.
Kind of like definitely worse than like Gollum eating his raw fish.
About the same. About the same.
Well,
Yummy.
again, like honestly, that is always a disgusting sound. If you just like there, and that goes for plenty of things actually, just a mundane daily thing, like eating, just the sound of eating. If you really focus in on it and like really make it loud and obvious, it's gonna sound disgusting.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me that. I am a elementary school teacher who works online, and many of the parents of the students I work with think that class time is snack time, and it's not great. I did have one girl one time eating a cucumber, just like a whole cucumber, just munching down on it, and that was actually pretty pleasant. But 90% of the time, it's a 9-year-old boy with a mouthful of goldfish being like, and it's awful.
Or someone eating a bag of chips.
Yeah. And
Just
I'm like,
every single crunch.
I'm sorry, and you know what? Sorry. Speaking of that, I just watched. I've been rewatching How I Met Your Mother. There's like the episode where they each talk about a major flaw about another character, and we get to like Lily's crunching, how she's so, and then like every time you hear her, you see her chew after that. It's like a
you hear every single like
Yes.
point of contact from the teeth and her tongue.
Yeah. But yeah, so nasty sounds are, I feel, surprisingly easy. You just make regular things louder and more obvious. A lot of monster sounds, if you look it up, I feel like are, depending exactly what kind of monster, I guess, usually very aggressive kind of monsters are almost always, I've found, going to be some sort of like lion or tiger sort of sound, maybe a bear thrown in there.
Yeah.
You get a lot of different creatures like that. And you stack them on top of each other, along with maybe some other things some things you probably wouldn't expect, but yeah, usually finding the right combination to make something sound unique.
Yeah, like Godzilla's roar is probably some combination of like, it's like a combination of like whale sounds and a elephant's trumpet. I'm trying to. There's probably something else in there that I can't put my finger on.
Yeah, I'd need to like really hear it again and really focus on it more. But I was also thinking, when you said that, I was also immediately thinking of King Kong's roar, like in the new movies and stuff. But yeah, that kind of stuff is always interesting.
I would say Kong's probably like a combination of several different, like chimps and apes, and it kind of distorted excuse me, to a degree.
Uh,
Maybe a tiger
I
roar thrown in
probably
there for good
wouldn't.
measure.
I don't know if I would think so, but again, that's another one I would need to hear again and really focus more on. But it's possible. Just
I
because,
remember,
like with a lot of, well, and I'm thinking like his roar, other sounds that he makes, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I remember looking at the behind the scenes of Halo 4 when it was coming out, and seeing that they were like recording, themselves shooting like some of the guns that the game's guns were based off of. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that too. And actually it's possible it wasn't Halo that I was thinking of, but maybe like a Call of Duty thing. But yeah, they a lot of times good shooters make sure that they sound pretty unique.
Yeah, be fun stuff to try to record or capture.
Yeah, I had a thing to record sounds with a long time ago. It was a Zoom H4, maybe. I think that's what it was. But yeah, unfortunately, I guess I lost it somewhere. I've moved a few times since then, so it's very possible it got lost in that. However, there's just a lot of stuff like that, and it's one thing that I've definitely gotten distracted about in many occasions, where I'm watching stuff or playing stuff, and I'm always like, so let's think, what sound did they use, and did they use this? Okay, you can tell at this point they're walking on this thing, and even though it probably isn't like that on set, they probably ended up walking on this later because it's supposed to be another kind of thing. But yeah.
I actually have a couple of examples that y'all can guess how they made those sounds. Do y'all know how they made the lightsaber sounds, or guess
Well,
how
yeah.
they made the lightsaber sounds?
With is it Bill or is Bill Burr? No, not Bill
Hmm?
Burt, but Burton? Burt?
What?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of his name. Sorry. I don't remember currently. I know that I have studied that a while because he's one of the more popular ones and one of the ones that you focus on a lot in studying sound design. But
Yeah. Hannah, any guesses how they make lightsaber sounds?
I feel like I should know, but I don't.
They use a combination of a film projector's motor hum, TV interference, and then they wave a mic in front of the speaker to make the swooshing sound.
yeah, that makes sense because you do get that. What's it called? It starts with a. I want to say it starts with a D.
Doppler effect.
Doppler effect. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and that's something that I always think is fun to mess with.
Yeah. What about we don't know what a velociraptor sounded like. So what do y'all think they used to make a dolphin? I kind of gave it away. A velociraptor's screech. Y'all, I probably
You said
gave it
dolphin,
away.
right?
Yes, I did say dolphin.
Yeah.
What else?
Again, this is one that I know that I knew at one point, but yeah.
I might.
They use
I was gonna say if it's another animal, it's been a long time since I've watched a movie with a velociraptor in it. I would guess maybe some kind of bird.
Nope.
Like I feel like a bird screech worked in with a dolphin. No.
Hyena?
Nope.
Is it another animal?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
I'm really trying to think now again to what they sound like.
Alligator.
A water-based animal. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
A fish.
Bigger than a fish.
Shark.
Nope.
Whale.
A walrus.
Really? A walrus?
Yeah.
What the heck does a walrus sound like?
That's a good question because I mean, do they sound anything? Do they use like a similar sound to what the what are those big things in Skyrim? What are they?
Dragons.
No.
The walrus. The
I know what
parallels
you're
to
talking
walruses
about.
in the game.
Porker?
Yeah.
I feel like people who do Foley must watch a lot of like nature documentaries.
Probably.
They're like, what do these animals sound like?
Yeah. Ooh, here's one. Oh, we talked about Godzilla, but this actually says that his screeching roar was made by dragging a leather glove across the strings of a double bass.
I like that. I really
Which I
like
would
that,
not have thought
actually.
at all.
Well, that's one of the things I was going to say earlier is I feel like in order to be a really good Foley artist, you have to really, really think outside the box.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite random sounds is like, have you ever dropped silverware on the kitchen floor and someone's like, "Did you break something?" from the next room?
Yeah.
Like there's something about silverware like all clattering together that sounds like shattered glass, right? But like there's so many bizarre combinations of things that you have to be like, oh yeah, this sounds like that. And I mean, I don't have I feel like it maybe just takes a lot of practice, but I feel like you might also just need to have an ear for it that you're just like born with. I don't know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But there are also just other simple things that I feel a lot of people don't think about that I always find really fascinating to use. Like if you've ever been on a set or anything, you probably would know that one thing that the audio engineer needs to do a lot of times is they'll get what's called room sound. So basically that's where you just, and it's tough, honestly, to record it because you have to get everybody in the room to just be quiet. So you have to just be like, everybody shut up. and for like a minute, or maybe it's like 30 seconds. It depends, honestly, because, that's something that you don't necessarily think about, because if you're in a space, there's always a sound of a room or something, even if you're not always actively aware of it, because it's going to be anything
Lights,
like maybe
buzz,
the AC,
there's air conditioning,
lights,
or the
any
house
electronics,
creaking.
yeah, stuff
wind
like that.
outside.
Because if you try to just put in sound on something that you've recorded without getting that first, it's gonna sound really, it's gonna sound off, and it might be hard to notice what's off if you're not all that familiar with it, because you just, then it's all gonna be like fake sound. You usually want to get that so you have at least a foundation, a realistic foundation that you're starting with. So that's one thing that I've always thought was just kind of interesting, and you do that outside too, to kind of make it sound like outside. A lot of times you're probably not going to have it very loud. It'll probably be very subdued, but especially if it's a scene with a lot of stuff going on. But I also kind of occasionally enjoy being there when you have to be a part of just like a room full of people. I remember one of the projects that someone else was doing, they had a room, they were doing a scene from War of the Worlds. It was like when they were outside and there was a big crowd and everything. So they just needed like everybody in the room in both classes, I guess. And I can't remember if they pulled anyone else, but they just needed everybody to like come into this room and just like make a bunch of noise for like a minute or so. And so like you can just talk about whatever. You can just say whatever you want, because you end up stacking it, and the way you do it, it's just going to sound like a crowd if you have enough of that. But I always find that to be kind of fun, if someone is just like, we just need you to cheer. We just need you to clap and cheer and sound excited about something for like 30 seconds. Yeah.
It's always surprising whenever you look at the behind the scenes and see what they actually did, because like you said, Hayden, what sounds like a large crowd of people or this giant explosion was something done in a studio with one to maybe several people.
Yeah. Yep. And also like with explosions and stuff, I feel like slowing down a rather regular sound can often help create that sound, because it's going to sound very, you get that with a lot of crashes and explosions in movies and TV shows.
Michael Bay.
Exactly. It's literally the first person I was thinking of, because of course it is with explosions. But yeah, no, I mean, you get like, you slow down a regular sound and it's going to be this really long drawn out thing. And it's usually going to have a lot of bass probably, depending on what the sound is that you're starting with. But yeah, it's also, again, it's not just about what you record, but a lot of it can also really goes into how you mix it together. And I always find that to be the fun part, really interesting part.
Yeah.
So, that is our discussion for this week on sound design. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I always enjoy talking sound design, and I didn't get as prepared as I probably should have, but I feel like that's just me. I'm trying to get better. I apologize. So that was this week. What are we doing next week?
Next episode will be Philosophy Part 2. We will continue our discussion from Season 3 about philosophy, what we like, what's interesting, and we'll have a good time.
Yeah, life, the universe, and everything.
What does it mean?
Exactly, 42. So that is next week. I hope you guys enjoyed and hope you'll come back for that. Remember, if you're interested, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and anywhere that you're listening to our podcast, because we are available quite everywhere.
And Instagram.
Yes. I always forget about Instagram because I never use it. Anyways, thanks again for coming. Until next time, nerd out.
Nerd out.
Nerd out.